Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to another online lecture presented by PIST. Dear students, this is grade 7. The subject is English, and I'm your teacher, Shahid Ali. Dear students, this is lecture number 46, and basically, this is the last part of the lesson number 5 taken from the novel Antony and Cleopatra. Dear student, because of the length and shortage of time, I made the previous lecture from the same lesson, half of the lesson I took in that lecture, and the remaining part of that lesson, lesson number 5, Antony and Cleopatra. So, dear students, in today's lecture, inshallah, I will discuss in detail the remaining part of the lesson number 5, Antony and Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. So, dear students, here the end of this lesson is very interesting. So, you are requested to read, to watch, and listen carefully the lesson so that you can understand it better. So, dear students, let's move to the reading, the remaining part of the lesson number 5. Dear students, this is remaining part of the Antonio and Cleopatra chapter. Let's start reading Antony's new wife. Dear students, now in this lesson, in the life of the Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra and Antony, a move will come and some changes will come in their life, and you will find the story very interesting. The play very interesting. Antony's fellow rulers in Rome, Octavius and Lepidus, have been growing angry about Antony's life of pleasure in Egypt. Octavius complained that he was drinking and eating and investing his time in merrymaking. Merrymaking means, dear students, enjoying with each other and drinking and dancing just to make happiness. While Rome's great enemy Pompey, the son of the man Julius Caesar had killed, was bringing his army closer. When Antony reached Rome, he found that his friendship with Octavius and Lepidus had cooled. Okay, he felt that he had to do something to regain the respect of his friend, especially Octavius, who was known to be ambitious, eager. Okay, ambitious means having strong desire. He was eager and eager to rule Rome alone. And so it was decided that Antony would marry Octavia, the sister of Octavius. Okay, now this is another move in the play that something is thought for the Antony that he will marry to Octavia. She is the sister of Octavius. She was beautiful, noble, and gentle in character, and not at all proud. She was quite unlike Cleopatra, who thought she was more powerful and more beautiful than any other woman alive. In fact, if Antony had not been in love with Cleopatra, he would have considered Octavia a perfect wife. The wedding was arranged for political reasons, and it restored the friendship between Antony and Octavius. When Cleopatra heard that Antony had married again, she was so angry that she wanted to kill the messenger who brought the news. However, she asked the messenger some question about Octavia's appearance and character, He replied that Octavia was plain, short, old, and never had anything interesting to talk about. Delighted at this reply, she became happy at the reply, the Cleopatra, and content that Antony could not really love Octavia. Cleopatra rewarded the messenger with gold. The messenger, dear student, is one who brought the news to the Cleopatra. Okay. Although Antony treated his new wife with great kindness and respect, he longed to be back in Egypt with Cleopatra. A fortune teller told him that Octavius would become more powerful than him, and that he should return to Egypt when he could forget his worries about Octavius' ambitions. He decided to take the fortune teller's advice, but before he could leave Rome, he was called to an important meeting. Octavius and Lepidus had to try to persuade Pompey. Persuade, win approval or support power. Okay, Pompey to agree to peace terms. It was agreed that Pompey would receive Sicily and Sardinia, two of the Roman lands he had conquered. Dear students, these both names mentioned here, these are the lands or places in Rome. Okay, both both sides would return their prisoners of war unharmed. Okay, they will not give them any harm and will release them. At the feast, to celebrate the peace agreement, Lepidus behaved foolishly and became drunk. It was clear that he was the weakest of the three rulers of the Roman world. After the peace agreement, Antony and, and Octavia left Rome for Athens. Okay, this is another famous place in the Rome or Athens. You can say a big place, especially famous for the religious point of view for the Christians. Octavius Caesar seemed very unhappy to see to see him go to see them go. In Athens, however, news came that Octavius had gone to war against Pompey again. Moreover, he had spoken insultingly, okay, with disgraceful manner about Antony. In spite of that, instead of that Antony was now his brother-in-law because he married his sister Octavia. Antony sent Octavia back to Rome to talk to her brother. He said that he would gather an army together to make war on Octavius. If I lose my honor, I lose myself, he said. If that happened, it would be better if he were not Octavia's husband. Octavia arrived in Rome hoping to make peace between her husband and her brother. But when she arrived, Octavius Caesar told her that he had received news that Antony had gone back to Cleopatra. He persuaded Octavia. Persuade means to win approval or support for. Okay, so he persuaded his sister Octavia that she had been badly treated by Antony and should remain in Rome. Even though Antony was married to his sister, Octavius still wanted to destroy him. He wanted to be the only ruler of Rome. Lepidus was weak and could easily be removed from power. But to get rid of Antony, he would have to make war against him. The Battle of Actium. Dear students, now here this is another move in the play. Antony had gathered his army at Actium, which was on the coast on the side of the river, not far from Egypt. He was joined there by Cleopatra. News came that Octavius was approaching Actium with his navy. Antony's advisor told him that he must not fight at sea. His ships were old and had not been used for a long time, and many of his sailors knew nothing about fighting. Octavius had a new navy, and his men were well trained. Antony's soldiers could certainly beat the enemy army, so the best thing would be for Antony to fight Caesar on land, not in the sea, not in the water. Antony, however, did not listen to his good advice. He preferred to listen to Cleopatra, who wanted him to fight a sea battle. A sea battle. Antony's navy was defeated and his ships were sunk in the sea. This defeat was partly Cleopatra's fault. Okay, when she saw that the battle was going badly, she took away her ships and commanded her navy to sail back to Egypt. Antony, having lost everything, told his followers to escape and followed Cleopatra to Egypt. Antony felt terrible shame at his defeat, but he still loved Cleopatra and forgave her for her foolish advice and cowardly behavior. Cowardly behavior, lacking of courage. He sent a messenger to Octavius begging to be allowed to remain in Egypt. If that were not possible, then he asked to be allowed to live privately and quietly in Athens. He said that Cleopatra recognized the greatness of Caesar and asked that should be her heirs should be permitted to rule Egypt, which was now a Roman possession. Okay, Roman now captured Egypt. Octavius replied that he would not listen to anything Antony asked, but he would respect the wishes of the queen if she drove Antony out of Egypt or killed him there. Antony recovered his former courage when he saw how dishonorably Octavius had treated him. He sent a message to Octavius, who by this time had arrived in Egypt with his army. Antony challenged him to fight man to man. Octavius refused. He said no. A battle could not be avoided. Octavius was confident that his forces were better than Antony's, and besides, he now had in his army many of Antony's followers. Antony, thinking that he was going to die, said goodbye to Cleopatra and led his army against the forces of Octavius. To everyone's surprise, Antony's army won the battle with all his confidence restored. Antony prepared for another battle to drive Octavius out of Egypt. But this battle was fought at sea, and as before, Antony lost. This was the end of the war between Antony and Octavius Caesar. Nearly all of the Antony's followers had now gone over to the other side. Antony at last realized he had lost everything. In despair, in despair, in sadness, he blamed Cleopatra. She has betrayed me, that false queen of Egypt. My love for her has led to my shame and defeat. His anger made him mad, and he wanted to kill her. The evil creature has sold me to that schoolboy, Octavius Caesar. The only war left is the war my heart makes against her. When I have taken my revenge against her, I shall be finished. The death of the lovers. Dear students, now here in this scene, the death of the Anthony is mentioned or described. At that moment, Cleopatra came along. Keep away from me, you just bring me back luck, he shouted at her angrily. Why is my lord so angry with his love? Cleopatra asked sadly. Go away, if not, I shall give you what you deserve and spoil Caesar's victory march by killing you. Go, let Caesar have you. He will put you on show in Rome in front of the rough common people. Rough common people, rough, not shaped people, not uh, plain or not good people. Okay, he will chain you to his chariot. Okay, like a car chariot. Okay, wheel like a cart, and pull you along behind him as if you were the most disgraceful woman in the world. He will treat you like something in circus. Then he will allow Octavia to tear up your face with her fingernails. This was too much for Cleopatra. She ran away in terror, but Cleopatra could not change her ways for long. Soon afterwards, she and her two women servants, Charmian and Eras, hide themselves in the queen's tomb. Okay, where she would be buried when she died. This was a place for the grave, okay, after the death of the queen. When she died, Cleopatra sent a messenger to tell Antony that she was already dead. The messenger was to say that the last word the queen had spoken was Antony. Antony left alone after receiving this dreadful news, decided that the only honorable thing left for him to do was to kill himself. But he was afraid. I, who once ruled a third of the world with my sword, now have even less courage than a woman. What Cleopatra has done, I must ask someone else to do for me. He begged his faithful servant to kill him, but the servant, instead of taking Antony's life, killed himself. Seeing that even his servant had more courage than him, Antony fell on his sword. The sword only wounded him, and he was too weak to finish the deed properly. He begged some soldiers to put him out of his misery, of his problems, but of his sorrows, but they all refused. Meanwhile, Cleopatra, realizing what Antony might do, sent another messenger too late to tell him that she was still alive. Antony was carried dying from his wound to the tomb. Okay, this is a place where the queen should be buried after her death. When she saw him lying at the entrance to the tomb, Cleopatra was filled with sorrow. Peace, peace, Antony said to her tenderly. Tenderly, with tenderness, Antony said. It was not Caesar's honor that defeated Antony. Antony's own honor caused his death. It is right that only Antony should beat Antony, but how sad it is. I am dying, Cleopatra dying. I cannot cheat death for such longer just until I lay the last of many thousand kisses on your lips. Cleopatra called to her women servants and the few soldiers who had not run away. They helped Antony inside the monument, an important site marked with public property, that is called monument, and laid him down gently. He was very weak. He tried to tell Cleopatra to give in to Caesar and save herself, but she would not listen. Do not be sad at the unhappy change that has come upon me at the end of my life. He said, think of my past fortunes when I was one of the greatest, noblest princes in the whole world. Uh, I do not now die a dishonorable death. I am a Roman bravely defeated by a Roman, but now my soul is going. My soul is going, I can no more. Noblest of men, do you wish to die? Cried Cleopatra. Will you not care about me any longer? Shall I live here, all alone in this dull world? Dull means nothing, nothing having, okay? In this dull world, without you, it is no better than a pigsty, okay? Dear student, pigsty, it means pin for swine, okay? Or you can say this is the place for the gathering of the pigs, okay? Pigsty. Pigs, better pig. This is haram in Islam. So this word pigsty means the collection or the herd of the place where the pigs gather or live gather. Ah, so my woman, the crown of this world is melting. Okay, Antony's eyes closed. My lord, he was dead. Oh, look how the bright flower of honor dries and drops to the earth. The brave soldier spear is fallen. Spear, this is spear, student, an implement with sharp point for fishing, especially spear, just like an arrow, is fallen. Young boys and girls are equal now to men, and there is nothing wonderful left beneath the moon. The queen wept. Octavius promised Cleopatra that he would treat her well, but warned her that if she too took her own life, he would not be so kind to her heirs. Okay? But Cleopatra decided that she could not go on living without Antony. She told her servants to bring her a crown, and so she prepared for death. On her throat and her arm she placed two snakes, whose were very poisonous. She was killed instantly and painlessly. Cleopatra, who in her life had been guilty of so many cowardly acts, so many bad acts, died bravely. Octavius found her and was full of grief at the death of such a great queen. She told her attendants, those that were present in her court, to carry her away. She shall be buried by the side of Antony. He said, no other tomb in the world shall contain such a famous pair as this queen and her brave soldier. Dear students, this was the last part of the lesson number 5, Antony and Cleopatra. Here you saw what happened in the play where the Antony married for the third time just for the political cause, but that was not successful. And at the end, you know what happened to the queen of Egypt, Cleopatra and Antony. Both died for each other, and both lost all the things, the worldly thing, and similarly spiritual thing, love in this world. Anyhow, they prefer death and remain with each other side by side at the end after their death. So, hope dear students, you understood it well. Let's move to the exercise. Here, to dear students, in the exercise, uh, words are given, so fill in the gaps with the words from the boxes. So here the words are given, and here you can find the blanks. So I wrote these words in the sequence, space upon after space to fill it. So let's move to the sentences. The Roman thought The Roman thought Cleopatra, that queen of Egypt, might be dangerous, here dangerous, so Antony went to try to discover if she was plotting, making any plotting. So Antony went, okay, to she was plotting against the Roman. He fell in love with Cleopatra when they meet face to face. Okay, face to face will come. Cleopatra fell in love with him too, for Antony was famous for his success in war and his political power. Antony loved Cleopatra so much that he did not care if the Roman world fell to pieces. Okay, Antony received news that his wife Fulvia had joined forces, that his wife Fulvia had joined forces with his brother Lucius, and that they had been fighting against Octavius Caesar. Also, that the Persian king had attacked three Roman provinces, and that Fulvia, forced to leave Italy with Lucius, had fallen ill and died. Anthony knew that much of the trouble was caused by his own bad behavior. He was needed in Rome to help fight enemies who were moving ever closer. He decided that he must leave Egypt. Dear students, here you can see these words. These words are according to these spaces, okay, in sequence one after another. So try to learn them well, try to understand them and memorize them. Dear students, see you in the next lecture, and thank you for joining and looking and watching this video and lecture. See you in the next lecture. Up to date. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.